Okay, hey everyone. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's event. We have a lot of good guest speakers lined up, so I'm really excited. In case you don't know, May is Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month and also Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I was really excited to do this event because we're bringing in together guest speakers and spiritual entrepreneurs from the Asian Pacific Islander community who will be sharing their gifts, their talents, their expertise, and also their journey of what it was like to get to where they are today. And keep in mind, even though these businesses and entrepreneurs, they're located throughout different parts of the States, a lot of the sessions can be done virtually. My name is Trinh, co-founder of Happy Healing Shop. We are a spiritual and lifestyle company that helps people on their spiritual journey through community events such as this. And we also have a lot of free resources and courses as well on our website. So for more details, visit us at thehappyhealingshop.com. So I would love to get us started because there's so many speakers tonight. And if you have any questions for any of them, please feel free to type them in the chat in the Zoom chat below. So yes, so okay, great. So our first guest is an astrologer. Originally born in China and moving to Iowa at the age of 5, she got into astrology back in 2014 as she was recovering from 12 years in predominantly white institutions and going through a Uranus-Sun conjunction as well as a 10th house Saturn transit. Becoming an astrologer gave her a language to make her confront the issue of how she was allowing belief to operate within her own life. So please help me give a warm welcome to Alice Sparkly Cat.
Hi, everyone. It's good to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
thanks
thank
Trinh,
you.
for holding
Yeah,
space. Yeah,
of course. Really excited. So can you tell us a brief introduction about your journey and also how you got into more maybe in depth of how you got into astrology? But what I found fascinating is kind of, each astrologist has their own style of doing readings or interpreting it. And can you explain more of that and maybe how growing up as an AAPI person kind of like melded into that?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. So like the way I do readings, it's conversation style. We interpret your chart together. So I never use astrology to tell you who you are. It's a lot of processing of the past, which not every astrologer chooses to process the past with folks. Some do more forecasting. But what we usually do is we're looking at the chart through the lens of the present. So we're looking at what's changing for you right now. And we're looking at it as an extension of cycles that you've already been experiencing. So we're contextualizing things all the time. How I got into astrology, I was going through a hard time in my personal life in like 2014, 2015. And it just kind of helped me see myself. I think that I was really kind of only looking at myself through relationships to other things at the time. So it helped me acknowledge just me, and it helped me like kind of be curious about myself too. Yeah.
And so when people come to you for astrology readings, do they usually ask about forecasting though, even if it's not quite your style? And how do you kind of, do you redirect them to, let's say their past, or how do you, I guess, talk to them about their chart?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes folks will be like, I want to know what the next few years will be like. And then we're able to see that because you can see the cycle and things like that. But something I like to always ask people is like, hey, like, you're going to go through, let's say a Jupiter year, Jupiter is going to be over here. Like, what do you want to get out of it? After kind of laying out some things. So I like to just kind of like remind people that they have a lot of agency. It's not something that's happening to them. Yeah.
And can you explain to us possibly if what society or humanities maybe shifting towards that you see during the season or this year?
This year, well, we have Jupiter in Pisces. We have an eclipse tomorrow, another one June 10th. So we have some eclipses coming up. Jupiter is going to be in Pisces until like December, or sorry, no, it's going to retrograde back in July and then go back into Pisces, domicile in December. So like, I mean, it's hard to say like what that would be like because it's different for everyone. But I mean, I think that when Jupiter is in domicile, whether it's in Sagittarius or Pisces, sometimes there is this like kind of like speeding up of things too. Yeah.
Would you say speeding up of like progress for humanity as a whole, or like do you mean more like people's careers?
I think it really depends. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes like I think like the world kind of opens up is the thing, yeah, with Jupiter and Pisces. But I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
And then can you tell us a little bit more about, I think it was, is it newly published, your newly published book?
Yeah, I do have a
Or was it
book that
recent?
came out last Tuesday called Post-Colonial Astrology. So check it out. Like you can order it. Like what it's about is like it's actually about looking at Western astrology as not a universal system, but something that helps you talk about your relationship to the West. So that's why I like to talk about with people in readings. I like to talk about race, about colonial gender, and just to help people process it. That's why we talk about past experience so much. And it like, I mean, it just asks questions around astrology, basically. It looks at different archetypes. It's made to be useful to people who practice astrology, not academics or anything like that. But it looks at different archetypes and it looks at how that's circulated throughout modernity, and how Western astrology is remembered to be Western, like even if it's not Western origin.
And could you get more into,
Mhm.
you know, you're saying you were going through a difficult time in your life. Would you say astrology was a modality that in a way possibly, I would say, I don't know, maybe some people it saved them, but also was it difficulties of like growing up as an Asian person? Or like, do you feel like, how do you feel being an Asian person who is an astrologer? And, you know, if your family supported you and your network supported you?
Well, like, I mean, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Iowa. So there was like a very specific type of, like, I had a very specific Asian experience, like very Christian, kind of small town experience. So like, it's like, I mean, it was hard for me to identify as Asian American until I had started to work with elders in Chinatown, because it was hard for me to see the inheritance of just struggle and narrative also. So it's like, I mean, just being Asian's changed for me a lot throughout the years. At that specific moment in my life, I think I was processing a lot of pain that had to do with gender-based violence, which is also racial. Yeah.
Great. And then do you have any new projects coming up or any events, or has it mainly your baby has been the book?
Yeah, I feel like I just gave birth a little bit with the book. It's been like ideas that have been sitting on for 5 years. I'm gonna take it easy this summer. I'm gonna go to the beach and stuff. So I don't really have anything coming up, honestly.
Oh, great. And when I looked at your website, I wasn't sure, were you still doing readings? If people are people able to book readings with you, or are you still a bit backed up at the moment?
I am booking readings, 2 slots open every day. So I have 1 slot open right now. But
Oh,
you have to
okay.
join my mailing list to get the link, which I will send out again probably sometime in July, because I'm gonna open up more slots in July. Yeah.
Great. Perfect. And for if people want to find more about you, where can they visit you?
Oh yeah, check out my website. It has some just writing on it. You might like, if you're bored, you can read through it. It's AliceBarkleyCat.com, cat with a K. So I post stuff about astrology. I sometimes post other stuff too. I'm working on a series about like BTS natal charts. So if you're Army, yeah.
Oh, you mean like the band? I always never know if it's
Yeah.
BTS like behind the scenes or BTS
Oh no, no,
the
no. Yeah,
Korean
the
boy
boy
band.
band.
Yes, the
Yeah.
boy band. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing. I know it's really late there on the East Coast right now, so thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for holding space.
Yes. All right. Have a good night if you're going to go off to sleep. Okay, so our next guest speaker, she is an Ayurvedic health counselor and founder of Intrepid Ayurveda, a community-centered holistic health practice based in Long Beach, California. Intrepid Ayurveda provides individualized support by helping you build and maintain a diet and lifestyle that suits your unique needs. Their goal is to put your health and well-being back into your own hands. Please welcome Valerie Hwang. Hello,
Hi,
welcome. Okay.
thank you.
It's funny because I was tripping over saying Ayurveda so
It's
many
okay.
times, so I was just like a little bit of tongue twisters.
Yeah, no
Welcome.
problem.
Thank you so much for joining. I've seen, I'm sure people here have seen that term floating around, but can you explain what exactly Ayurveda is?
Yeah, I can. So Ayurveda is a very old system of holistic medicine that originally stemmed from South Asia, mostly India. And it is actually part of a wider system of philosophies. So the Vedas, it covered yoga, astrology as well. So Jyotish is involved in that, and a whole bunch of other philosophies for life and spirituality. So with everything else, it is a very deep and nature-centered medicine that focuses mostly on harmonizing and getting the body and mind back to a state of balance where healing is an environment of healing is optimized.
And would you say, I guess, what are some misconceptions people get about Ayurveda? Or, when you're like, no, it's not quite that, guys,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot just because Ayurveda is such a wide subject. So most people here have only heard of Ayurveda either as like a hippie science or
like
just
essential oils or something like that.
Yeah, essential oils or body therapies and things like that. But it's actually, and yes, they are a part of the system of Ayurveda, and you can use those things to heal, but it's involving so much more than just those things.
Right. And would you say it's a lot of, I guess like a lot of it's more like diet, nutrition, or like body movement, like how, would you say it's like 80% of that, or nutrients and whatnot, if you had to kind of like give a little brief breakdown of it?
It actually depends on the patient, but at the level that I practice at, it is diet, lifestyle, and 5 sense therapies. So anything that I give my patients are going to be things that they can adopt and make their own, and they don't need me per se to carry it on. So if successful, it becomes habit to them, and they can continue to implement those things to create better lifestyle.
And would you say, what are like common reasons that people or clients come to you? Is it usually like gut issues, or like they've tried Western medicine and it wasn't working? And what type of symptoms do you usually see that with your majority of your clients?
So it's funny because I think I get a mix, and some people come to me, they actually are having personal growth blocks, um, which is funny because like even though I say, oh, I'm working on diet, lifestyle, and 5 sense therapies, they actually want to work on more of the emotional, spiritual side. And the reason for that is because some of the reasons that we get sick are largely from the mental side, and they're often out of our consciousness. So by being able to give them like simple things like, oh, get up at 6 a.m. and have breakfast like this, they can kind of focus on that first, and that creates like a clarity, like a clearing for them to tackle some of the bigger stuff. Yeah, and then the other people might come for more of the digestive issues and whatnot. It's a mix.
Okay. And then if someone were to book a session with you, what does a health counseling session look like? Would you kind of like, let's say, and kind of like give us a little glimpse of like, you would kind of question and write down like their diet and lifestyle habits, things like that?
Yeah. So with Ayurveda, what I love is that I get to be super thorough, because I look at the whole person, their history, their life, and I read all of it. And so I look at your health history from, when you were born. I look at your features to see like, okay, what energies are dominant in your body. So we have like the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha energies, which I won't go into today, but and something I always explain in my introductory talks is like these energies and how they govern in the body and how they show up for you. So on the first evaluation, I'm always looking for, okay, what is your natural state of harmony? What is your homeostasis? And then looking at now your current state of imbalance, and almost everyone has a state of imbalance, and how to get from imbalance back to balance.
And how did you get into this I guess, into this health modality? Like, what was the story behind it?
Yeah. I had always wanted to do something with counseling. So I did my undergrad in psychological services, but then I gave that up because I didn't like the Western model of mental health. And I didn't think there was anything else out there. So I dropped that for a very long time, and went on to do other things. And then I went through a very hard time, just like Alice did, where I was having a lot of trouble with stress, with healthy relationships, and just a sense of self. So I, with the recommendation of friends, I did a Vipassana retreat first. So that was like a 10-day silent meditation. And then from there, another friend recommended me yoga. So I started doing yoga. And so like I started doing all of these things at once to find a place of peace. And at the same time, Facebook was picking up on all that I did. So they were recommending me Ayurveda schools. I didn't know what Ayurveda was, but I took the chance to click on it. And it was exactly what I had hoped for in becoming like a counselor, having like a holistic view of mental health in relation to the body. And so I knew that that was what I wanted to do.
And then do you feel that being an Asian Pacific Islander in this type of work, do you think it's benefited you or gave you a disadvantage, or are you feeling neutral about it?
I always think about this because it's like, even though I'm Asian, Ayurveda is not Chinese, right? It's not like there's traditional Chinese medicine, but I didn't choose that. So like, I always ask myself, well, that's really, well, I say to myself, it's really interesting. And then I ask myself questions, and then I look at other people around me and it's like, what are they doing? But it's something that is very true to me and the way that I have just lived my journey. In terms of Ayurvedic practitioners out there, I'm definitely in the minority as an East Asian Ayurvedic practitioner, but I know other people who are out there who do this. And in terms of who has propagated Ayurveda in the West, it has been largely like white Americans and Indians. So, which makes sense. But I think that this is rapidly changing as well. I just started school again, and so I look around at my other classmates and stuff, and there are people from all over. So the nice thing about Ayurveda is that even though it did come from India, it stems from family philosophies that were very just human oriented. So I don't feel excluded by practicing it. I don't feel necessarily that it's only applicable to one group of people.
Thank you for sharing that. It's really interesting. And then I also was wondering if you had any special projects or events coming up, or is it mainly sessions that you do, or if you have any programs?
I try to do programs just so that people get to know what Ayurveda is. So I usually host a free talk every 2 months or so. So the one that's coming up is an hour talk on the intro to Ayurveda and how to balance using Ayurvedic principles. So balancing the diet specifically. And then in Long Beach, I'm trying to work with my yoga teacher to bring more local events. So some of the stuff that we've done is we've like held digestive resets with people. We've had yoga and Ayurveda talks. So things pop up here and then. So just maybe stay on my mailing list for more of those updates.
Awesome. And where can more people find out about your events, and where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm most reachable through email. I like to say that every email that I get, I will respond to. So that's the best place to reach me. But my website has tons of content as well. I like to write, and especially reflections on my own experience with Ayurveda. So Intrepid Ayurveda is my website. And then I have a little bit of social media presence. So you can find me on there at Intrepid Ayurveda.
Gonna include it down in the Zoom. And also this will be on YouTube and probably next week. So I'll include it in the show notes as well. So
Fabulous.
yes, perfect. Thank you so much for clarifying and explaining more about your past and your background and all about Ayurveda. Can't even say that word right, Ayurveda.
Thank you for
So,
having me. This is
yes,
fun.
thank you. So our next guest, she is a Chinese face reader and clears energy around you, your home and personal space. She is also owner of So You Boutique, a place where beauty and energy align. She believes you can create any life you want, and the world really isn't how it is how you are. When you feel good about yourself, you can shift to see more for others and yourself. Please help me welcome Thuy Dam. You're
So
good.
I was looking at all of your beautiful faces, the ones that don't have a picture on, and so I can tell like where you guys are more sensitive and what your superpowers are, because in your face is the most present indicator of where you're at, and it's what your sensitivities are, and what you need to be happy. So like for instance, Cathy put herself on just a picture now, but when I was looking at her earlier, I'm like, this girl here is a very giving person, and if I needed a loan, I would go to her because she would probably give it to me. But some other people, I might not, because of they're going to be more like thorough, and I'm going to need to really present the business plan to them and such. Okay, so right now, I just want you to guys know that is just such a huge potential for all of you, because we're all supposed to experience a theme in our life. And then in line with astrology, with like what Kat was saying, this is a portal opening time with all of the eclipses and the super moons, and you really can rewrite your story at this moment and get rid of so many things that you inherited from your family that you took on as for obligations, and also changing the energy, because when you change the energy, you change your life. And when you change, you shift your energy, you shift your reality. And this can happen so quickly, especially in this time. And some of you, I just don't want you to waste it. So I'm going to just kind of give you a little bit of maybe some tips for, first of all, for your space, if you guys are open to it, because we're all
Yes,
kind of.
that was actually on my list of questions to ask you, because we get that in our community a lot of, well, for us, it's more of like people feel like they've been like maybe psychically attacked, there's negative energies and whatnot. So I was like, oh, what are 2-3 ways to clear their space, clear the home? Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So your space has emotional memory in it. Okay. And a space that's filled with love, demons can't be in there, attachments can't be in there. And I really want you to let go of the idea of something being bad or good. It's just about being in balance. So things can be out of balance. So within yourself, or in your spaces. And sometimes those things are aligned. And all of us have different sensitivities. So some of us are sensitive to emotions. Okay, so people's emotions, like if those are the emotional empaths. So if someone just thinks about them, they can feel it. And then they're like, oh my God, I don't know who I am. Like, I feel like just weird and wonky, right? And then some people are more physical empaths, which is more what I am. So I'll pick up energy from a space that's left in the space. So like during a busy time like Christmas, I kind of don't go to the mall very much, because I know I can pick that up, especially if my energy is wobbly. And so everyone has a frequency. So I want you guys to, one, always concentrate on your frequency and your energy. If you know that you're kind of feeling weaker, stay away from those places, okay? And then protect yourself. Okay, in your home though, right now, what you can do is work on the front entrance, first of all, because the front entrance is the mouth of chi. It's where energy comes in. So a lot of you probably go through your back door most of the time because of the garage. Who does that? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. So then you want to work on 2 areas. The front entrance, though, is the energy of the home. So on top of the front door is a hexagram. Okay, in the I Ching, they've got symbols and such, but you can manipulate that too, where you can put whatever you want on the top of the door, the energy that wants. So I want you to pick 3 energies. So for me, it's courage, compassion, and wisdom right now. Okay, so I just put it on a labeler. You can also get a piece of paper and just write it on there. Okay, and you put it on the top, the inside of the top. Okay, so you can also put other things that have a high vibration for you. So it could be a cross, it could be the evil eye, it can be, what's that? The dream catcher. Okay, if that's something that you like. But something has to have meaning for you and a high vibration for you. So place it on top of the door, on the inside. following me? So then after that, you have to clear the energy of that place first. You can't just put it on there and then expect it. So you have to clear it. So you're going to ask, please remove the negative energy from this space for the people occupying this space. Because if there's 2 people, you don't need to clear the whole world. You just need to clear for those 2 people. Okay. So then you ask that, but then you've got to either clap it in, remove it until it's like a clear thud, or you have like a tuning fork, or you can use a pendulum if you know how to do that. But most of you probably don't have those things. So just clap it. Okay. Just get rid of the energy, because noise is vibration. Okay. And then you ask, please install the energies of, for me, courage, compassion, and wisdom for the occupants in the space. So for my business, I do that as well for anyone that's entering this space. So every time someone walks in through the door, they get charged that energy and they get filled with that. Okay. So you do the same thing through your back door if you enter. And if it's mostly you, what do you want more of? And you can actually do this for every room in your house. So like for my little daughter, I have her room for creativity, growth, and compassion. Okay. So then for a bedroom, you can put passion, communication, love. Okay. So just pick 3. And then you can change it anytime you need the change. Okay, but the front entrance too, you want it to be clear of clutter, nothing dead, and something that makes you feel, I'm at home. And then the back door, if that's your garage, make sure that whatever you see first is like what tells you I'm home. Okay, so a lot of people, like Asians, you're gonna have a lot of shoes, right? So please have like an area that is like organizing your shoes so that it's like not everywhere. So it makes you feel good when you come in, and not like hectic and cluttered, like, oh shoot, I have to clean the house. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you were mentioning all those things like a dream catcher or whatnot, could even be
Mhm.
something that someone makes. Like
Yes.
if they, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It has to have meaning for you though, and something high vibrational for you. Okay. So that's like the first thing for your home. Okay. There's so much more on my YouTube channel, and I don't know if it's under Thuy Dom or Soyu Boutique, but I've got lots of other little videos for you, like how to clear your bed. And that might be something that you want to do now, because with the full moon, it's hard to sleep, and we've all been through a lot, and we're like at the half of the year, and your bed holds so much emotional memory. And this is where, you rest to renew and to dream. So you want to do just little things to clear your bed. Same thing with like clapping it in, removing the negative energy, and then installing the positive energy.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
This is great. And obviously, you guys, if you guys want a more personal session with her, where I think she goes more in depth with your space, then you can always visit her at a website to book. That was so helpful. And just look at my notes here. And I just want to let you guys know that we spoke, Thuy and I spoke over the phone, and she did a little tiny reading using my birth date and was able to, and she didn't even see my face. This is the first time we've seen each other's faces. And you were talking about I think the 5 elements and how I was young wood, and you were spot on with my personality and temperament. That was like, so I just want to let you guys know that.
Yeah.
And then
remember, this is also your year to build new foundations and help her show up. So all these things that you're doing, it's really in alignment with what you're supposed to be experiencing. And so like her nose, she might have probably hated it most of her life, but it's actually one that's a hard worker. Her 40s are going to be really great. She's a very giving person. And even though she's a hard worker, she's able to relax and utilize it and spend it where she doesn't contract and like be so hard on herself. But and then she's got those like really great cheeks that is kind of called bossy cheeks. So it's just a person who knows what to do and say, but sometimes people may think that she's being bossy. But I think it's leadership skills.
You know what's funny? You were mentioning on the phone. I actually have a photo of it pulled up because I'm going to screen share it, and you're actually mentioning quite a few of people on. Let's see here. There you go. You said you were looking at our faces, and and you were saying quite a bit of us have the same cheeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the bossy cheeks. And in the old days, the Chinese, like the mom's like, no, don't marry him, or no, don't marry her because she'll tell you what to do because they have those cheeks. And it's just depending on like how prominent they are will be how wide spoken they are and how much of a person, if they're passionate about something, how much of a fighter they are for you then and how loyal they are. So sometimes I will recommend them, maybe if they're shy, to do more speaking classes so that they hold authority, and because people will just gravitate to what they say and really don't even question what they say because they feel like they've already done the research and they trust them. So that's a really like great power to have, you know?
It must be so interesting for you to be able to just see anyone, and even before you meet them at a party, you'd be like, I kind of know what they are already.
Well, I sense their energy too. And then you can, you can just look in the person's eyes and you can see the Shen, which is how much they're really living from their heart. So some people have these kind eyes where you just know that they don't have like an evil thing in them and whatever, and they're just caring, and some have like more of like this intense focus eyes, and that sure enough, like they talk probably like pretty choppy and and like straight to the point, and some people just have these dreamy eyes where they're like really sensual, so it's really fun, and I love to just kind of like, ooh, I wonder if they took this side of the personality of the element or the other, and so then it just helps me make conversation, and then I really see what they're about, and it's really, then you see just so much other beautiful stuff, and then sometimes like you can really tell them something that like just shifts their perspective on things,
Yeah, I was reading online how you were explaining face reading can open doors for you for more authentic life, improve relationships, find purpose. So how does that work for face reading?
So which one? Pick one for me.
Like, for example, let's say understand what cycle of time you're supposed to be, or like finding your purpose. How would you be able to tell that in the face?
Finding the purpose. So if they were coming in for a session, I would see like their eyes and their lips, how much passion they have for something and their sensitivity then. And then we would just go through how much they care about certain animals or pets or causes. But the eyes and the lips would be the most important, because then will show like how much the lips will show me their communication technique, if they want to speak up or not, or if they're more private, so which career would be better for them and what to explore. I never tell them like one thing. I give them a list of things for them to explore with curiosity, and then that unfolds. And you don't get motivated and then find something to do. You actually do something and then find your motivation. So it's just to like unlock certain things and activate things for them. And really sometimes it's just knowing that they're sensitive, that they're so hard on themselves, and so like maybe they just need to breathe more with like their nose. So like, and then Valerie here, if it's her hairline, she's got this most perfect round hairline, right? So she's such a perfectionist, and I would have to ask her what her relationship with her mom's like, because her mom has such a huge impact on her and how perfectionist she is, and maybe then she just needs to double check with everyone before she makes a move, and she waits too long. So then I would tell her not to wait a long time, right, Valerie?
She wrote, my mom is here.
So, we would just explore that, and then I would give them homework. I call it homework, and so that they can do things energetically to open things up for them and remove the stagnant energy and the stuck energy, or maybe the apathetic energy.
And just FYI, guys, when at Thuy's website, you can book, there's 15-minute sessions and also 1-hour sessions on face reading. She also does group like get-togethers, or even like a Zoom, like let's say if you want to do like girls' night in, she offers that like a group sessions as well, just FYI. And then for when it comes to the face reading though, if someone gains weight or loses a lot of weight, how does that even affect, or there's certain features that they just pop out and they are just pretty much there?
So the face is the most present indicator of where they're at. So when I was on a lot of medicines before, I was bloated, okay? And so then that did affect my energy at that time, Okay, so that does affect their energy at that time. So if they lose weight, they may contract more, and then I would see maybe where they can go out of balance because of that contraction. Does that make sense? Now, also, but not just losing weight though, if like there's certain colors, like if it's redness, it normally means inflammation. If there's green, it might be toxicity. So there's just more than just losing weight, but the losing weight normally doesn't have that much of an impact because I pick the stronger features and it depends on what they're working on. Most people come because they want to find love, or fix a relationship. So those features are already the prominent ones, which I would look at mostly with the relationship, the lips.
Got it. So like, let's say for, if you're able to tell something about like relationship issues and whatnot, you can certain features so that you tell, kind of can pick up on what they can improve on.
Yeah. And
or
then,
like communication issues.
Exactly.
Like
yeah. Or there's blind spots. And so then they can work on that energy and then find that relationship that they want.
How did you get into all this? Like, how did you stumble upon face readings and also energy clearing?
I was always very sensitive as a little kid, but I didn't know it because I grew up Vietnamese Catholic and it was not talked about.
Same.
Yeah. And then in my 30s, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and then my body broke down so many times, but every time it broke down, it was actually a blessing in disguise where it just made me more sensitive, especially to spaces, food. And I fell into this through Jean Hainer, who taught me first about the face reading so that I can diagnose certain parts of my face for my condition, and then the energy clearing. And then something in my charts shows that like in my 30s, I actually would surpass the people that I supported because I was always a supporter before, doing things for other people. And so there are parts in your face, like if your forehead's bigger and or the second part is, then their life is actually better the second half or the first half. And then like the forehead is an indicator of their 20s, how many wrinkles there and such, and the lessons that they learn. I'm like, okay, those lessons are going to help you here and here. So it's just something that I really just grew into more so later in my life. And so some people will have that in the very beginning, some people later. It just kind of depends on the cycles that you're in.
Wow, that's so fascinating. Do you have any projects coming up? And also, like, I think at your boutique, you offer other services. Obviously, you're based in Colorado, but
yeah. So I'm in Colorado, and you guys probably wouldn't be able to do my spray tans and my teeth whitening, but the face reading, we can always do it online. The energy clearing, we can do it online as well. The space clearing, here and there, I can do certain parts of it for you. And in 1 hour session, we can actually cover a lot. And we can always do a Zoom party like this. That's really fun. The less people I have, then the more I can concentrate or have time for a person, But when it's more like this, I'm gonna have to kind of skim and go pretty fast.
Awesome, perfect. So if people want to book you for a service and whatnot, where can they find you?
They can find me at soyouboutique.net, and that's soyouboutique.net. And then I'm on every social media except for TikTok. I haven't quite gotten into that yet. But that's with So You Boutique. And then on my YouTube, I've got lots of little videos and with tools for you, like from meditation to face reading to energy work and to also mommy life, because I have a little 4-year-old toddler.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This was such an interesting modality that I think most of us have not heard about. So thank you so much for coming on and for sharing it with us.
Sure, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
So our next guest is an author, motivational speaker, and leadership coach. After a successful career spanning over 20 years connecting finance executive job seekers to their next level, she has expanded her reach to begin a movement of social consciousness through her books, including The Journey, Mastering the Art of Slowing Down into a Beautiful Existence. What you might know about her is that she is a single mother, cancer survivor, and as someone who has personally gone through it herself, she is an advocate for addiction recovery and became an entrepreneur to speak about her life to help others heal. She was featured on the front cover of the recent edition of Scars of Survival magazine. She was born in Vietnam and now resides in Southern California. Please welcome Cathy Trinh.
Thank you,
Hello.
Trinh. You took all the words out of my mouth. No, that thank you so much for the introduction. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your invitation to speak here. Again, hi, everybody. My name is Cathy. I'm based out here in sunny Southern California. And, just like Trinh said, I am a single mother. I'm 44 years old, and I've had a long history of a lot of, I see Valerie here too. Hi, Valerie. I see a couple other people here too. So I've had a long journey. My book is actually titled The Journey. And, for a very, very long time, I had rushed through my entire life, not enjoying, the presence of the moment, just being here with you guys right now is exactly how God and, a higher power and source divinely set us all up, right? We've got 25 people here in this room, and, we're all here. We're all meant to be here. So, a little bit about myself. I would say, since this is a talk on like spirituality or spiritual, but I feel like I'm a spiritual MacGyver, right? I when I was born, in Vietnam, came here from Vietnam. Our boat was lost at sea for about 7 days. I'm a Vietnam War survivor, and I, by the universe's, by the stroke of luck or whatever, I came to the United States. So I've been in the United States for 40 years. And there was a lot of, I guess you would just call it challenges that I've overcome in my life. But I grew up with Buddhism. I know some folks here are, Catholic or Christian raised, but Buddhism was my thing. And so, like going and, hearing the gong and, and just being around spiritual people, it just allowed me to slow down. Unfortunately, at some point in my life, my teenage years and my college years, I dabbled into drugs and alcohol. So I was an alcoholic. I was a drug user. And by the age of 22 years old, I hit my rock bottom. And so for a long time, I was like completely out of it because I numbed myself with chemicals. And so 22 years old, I decided that enough was enough. I cleaned up my life, removed the toxins, and there was, and then I started my recovery journey. So I've been, on and off, in recovery now for the past 20 years. And it truly has been a very spiritual journey. I would consider a lot of moments in my life has been a spiritual awakening. And, what I do now, for my communities is I go out and I speak about addiction recovery, mental wellness, mental health. I'm a huge advocate for mental health, and breakdowns in our lives. And so, also what I do is I'm a mentor to a lot of people across the globe. I'm not a therapist nor a licensed practitioner. So my story, I'm open to sharing all parts of my journey. It's called self-disclosure. So, being a coach or a mentor, I can self-disclose. And so when I'm out there in the world, I'm sharing my story. Another Asian woman or another, person that's struggling with whatever it is that they're struggling, they're able to say, hey, I'm dealing with the same thing. Can you help me? And that's one of the biggest things of Asian Americans. It's hard for us to say, I need help. It's because I grew up in this family and we're not supposed to be talking about these things. It's very shameful, blue collar immigrant household. Parents worked really, really hard to get us all to where we are. And how dare I, saving face, right? That was so my story and my books have been I took inventory of my morals, my values, my path, and I shared it with the world. And it was like this huge aha moment. And it was like, so, it was so freeing, Trinh, it's like, it was so freeing. It was so, it got to this, like, it was so authentic where I was able to say, look, I'm a transformed human being. Yes, I have had shame. I have had a lot of guilt, guilty things that I've done. I have dabbled in drugs, but look, this is the solution. So, I don't want to get into too much of the recovery talk, but if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to share it, and I can touch on pretty much any story or any areas that individuals need to talk about.
And thank you for sharing that personal and vulnerable story. It is really true that a lot of, I guess, like our parents' generation and older, just like, again, saving face, or even like, there's nothing wrong, or I survived here on boat, you should be grateful, you have a roof on your head, that kind of stuff. And they don't address I don't think they're even aware that they even have trauma. So that's the thing. So, what are, I guess, some misconceptions would you tell someone, or even for us here, sitting here, misconceptions about addiction? Because sometimes people are like, well, just get over it. And that doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you can't just get over it. It took me a lifetime of self-abuse and, just hurting myself. And, it got to a point where I was just hurting. I was hurting so bad that I literally crawled into 12-step program and therapy and meetings to be able to talk about this. And, one of the things that I've shared recently is that, there's so much talk about, the Asian hate and all of that. It's a lot to me. It's sad. It really is sad. Like, I want to focus on the solution. And I've shared this before, like, if I had been discriminated because of my race, my religion, my skin color, I probably would have been dead. There was a lot of suicidal ideation. There was times that I've had almost overdosed on, pills and alcohol. The reason why I didn't want to live or wanted to die was because I didn't know how to live. And I didn't have anybody to run to. Like, I couldn't walk into my parents' home and say, look, I need help. When you said something about my parents, like, for example, it took my dad a long time to want to even pick up the book and open it up, because he said everything in that book that you wrote was a lie, and it was a lie. And it's like, it's like this thing about calling wolf or, being a victim, it's this victim mentality, right? Yeah. I mean, I would agree that, a lot of people look at it as being a victim, but when he started reading the book, he called me up one day. He said, Cathy, I'm so glad that you wrote this book, because reading this book is like looking at myself in the mirror. There's a lot of things that we as Asians hide. I never wanted to tell people that I got raped, but it was my fault. I was the one that ditched school that day. And so I turned around and I hid these shameful acts of humiliation to myself. And so what happened is that I poured my time and my energy into workaholism, and the biggest problem is the ism. And you can have ism, right? It's the racism, the alcoholism, like being addicted to food, being addicted to sugar, being addicted to, to whatever it is. And when you finally hit your bottom, you have to recognize that we are powerless over something. It's X. So the ism for me was X. And whatever I can fill that X with was I'm powerless over X. And I realized that my life was unmanageable because I did this. So how I counter all of these things, and it's a daily practice, you guys, every single day, even though people say, wow, you've been sober and clean for this many times, like, why are you still going out there and talking about this? And I said, because in order for me to keep it for myself, I have to keep sharing it. And I have to have these routines on a daily basis. I have to continue journaling. Because the Cathy that you met in college when I was high on drugs 20 years ago is a different version of me today. I'm a different Cathy. I'm a different Cathy than I was yesterday. I'm different than I was a year ago. So like my daily practice, as much as I go out and I teach my teachings, like I still do it myself in order to continue to share it. One of the biggest problems that we have is that I'm a high performer, and I still am. I'm probably going to be, I own multiple businesses. I run a company, and I'm always going to be working at functioning at this high level. And the problem is that I prided myself with multitasking. And the problem was that my brain just worked so fast. And if we notice ourselves, our brains working so fast. So one of the biggest practices I do now is I quiet down my mind so much that I can finally hear what my heart is longing for, you know, and I do things with intent. And that's why the subtitle of my book is Mastering that Art of Slowing Down. And it's just quieting down to this moment in time. Like right now, you know, I can probably slow down this meeting all the way down to like seconds, you know. And then when you slow down your life, you can actually enjoy that food, embrace Victoria's baby in her arms, you know, or like look at someone in the eyes and go, wow, I actually see some emotion in there. Do you need help with something? But when we're moving too fast in today's society, it's so hard to get down to what is so important, and it's just being in the moment. So God, I'm so sorry for that was such a long answer to that, but yeah, I mean, there's a huge stigma to addiction. I'm always going to identify as a recovering addict, because we're recovering from something every day. You know, I'm although like I love the taste of alcohol, but I can't touch it, because one is too many and 1,000's not enough for me. You know, and so I just choose to abstain from that. If you're in a domestic violence relationship, it's all or nothing. You're going to either get completely abused in that relationship or you get yourself out. But how do people that are addicted in these tough, challenging relationships, they hit their bankruptcy, but they can't get out. So that's why they have to go into these domestic violence shelters to completely abstain from that. And then finally, one other thing I do want to remind myself, because my body is really sensitive to energy, like, you know, Thuy and Valerie. And, you know, and when I'm close to someone that has the energy from whatever it is, whatever conversations that they've been in, multiple ones, we got to run, you know, you got to run the opposite direction until that person can actually hear me. So, you know, I do a lot of service work. And so a lot of, you know, us Asians, when they're not ready to hear it, it doesn't matter if you're Asian or not, but when you're not ready to hear it, you can't even say anything. It's like standing too close to the tree and you can't see the entire forest. So, so I have to do my part. In recovery, they say we have to carry the message. Carry the message, because you never know, even that person standing in the grocery store and you turn around and you just see that person's sadness in their eyes, you can help that person. And it doesn't even have to cost them a dime. Your presence is enough. So, you know, I thank you guys thank you for asking that question.
No, of course. Do you feel like when you put yourself out there, being like, this is my story, this is what I went through, how were you feeling? Were you just like, ooh, and then you were, maybe the reception was actually was a pleasant surprise?
Yeah, you know, Trinh, because I came into this program for in recovery so long ago, we get someone who sponsors us. So our sponsor is actually our mentor. The mentor doesn't get paid a dime, right? That's why I take a lot of phone calls for free all the time. But our mentor who helps us in recovery doesn't get paid a dime. What they're there for is because they've walked in our shoes, and then they're there to help support us. And so in recovery, she told me to do a couple of things. She says, do what I do, you'll get what I get. If you go here and you do contrary action, because a lot of times what Cathy wants to do is Cathy's going to get it no matter what. And I'm such a stubborn girl. I'm the biggest party girl. I'll influence anybody to run away with me, you know, or get married with me, or whatever the case is. I can do that. You know, it's really easy. But here's the thing. So in this recovery journey, I started taking inventory of my everything, of all the shameful acts, my sexual inventory, all the people that has hurt me, I've hurt them. And I wrote it down word for word, line for line. And there was 30 books, like there was 30 journals of everything that I've done. Because then I totally did a self excavation, self-discovery, deep work. I mean, if you want to talk about deep work, it's like stuff that you can't even tell the Pope, like he'll get mad, you know? And so I did this really deep work. The first time around I did it, I ended up shredding it because I didn't want anybody to see it. The second time I did it, I shredded it again. It's like, I can't do this. The third time I did it, it got lost in my pile of journals back there, right? And I put it away. I just wanted to shut the door to my past. I don't want to look at it. The fourth time I did it, 3 years ago, I did it again. And my mentor sponsor says, you need to burn it now. You know what I did? I went against her wishes. I said, I can't burn this. This is too good. I need to put this in a book and I need to share my inventory with my world, with every single person across this country, across the United States, and into other countries, because I want to show them that I am a walking, living testimony that someone that could have died or could have killed somebody because of her influences. Like I could have killed so many people. I'm saying that no doubt I've driven drunk and woken up in the morning and go, how did I get home? I don't know. Like there were times, there was blackouts day after day after day. And then I wrote this book and I said, I'm going to put it into this book and I'm going to push the send button. And I pushed the send button and it went up on Amazon. And next thing you know, multiple communities, my professional community was like, no wonder you didn't show up to work because you were loaded. And I was so embarrassed, but it was because I was real. And you know, when you become real and you can become like, you truly have a transformational story, people are going to say, you're so brave because I've been through the same thing. The only difference between you and I is that you told your story. So I'm just really grateful that there's no takebacks now. It's published, right? And these 2 books that I have published. And you know what? I'm just going to own it. So once you own your story, you start loving yourself and go, you know what? The best days are still yet to come. So I'm just like, I'm really grateful, that I get to talk to some incredible humans. I don't know who's on this call. If you guys are practitioners, if you're doctors, if you're engineers, if you're just like lover of life, like I thank you for being here.
I don't know if I should do that for that. Oh, we have people clapping on Zoom on mute. But it's funny because you answered a lot of the questions I was about to ask you, but thank you for being an inspiration, proof that you can change your life around. Like if you didn't say all that story, you look like another Asian person on the street, to me.
Yeah.
So.
I would say today I am a spiritual thought leader. I'm also an artist. I am a writer. My art is expressed through literature. Although I do have a ton of tattoos, so then my art started on tattoos, but our life is like Rumi said, our life is like living poetry. And if you don't share it, and it's just, there's so many people that we can heal. And there's 8 billion people in this world. I woke up one morning and I had this sense of urgency to go out and help people. I said, if cancer didn't kill me, nothing is. And I want to help people. And the thing is that, I want to hit 1 million people. Like I want to help 1 million people's lives, but there's still that 8 billion people out there. So the most important people is the 24 or 23 other people that's on this phone call right now. I hope I said something, or if I left you with one sense of hope, if you know of somebody, if you're not hurting right now, but if you know somebody that's hurting, I'm not even want to promote my book. I mean, that's so easy. I can just say, go pick up my book and go find a sentence that can heal you today. but the most important people are the people on this call right now. And I just really appreciate, you guys spending time. You took time out of your life. It's 1 hour of your entire life, but it is a true investment for me too, to know that my journey has led me to this very moment, to be able to speak to, individuals and the community of the Happy Healing Shop, and, having some other, beautiful people on here, and just like looking at, intently, and paying attention. And, I'm just so grateful. I'm really grateful to be alive. The aliveness is what keeps me going. Because if we're not excited about our lives, we're just dead, and I don't want to feel that way ever again. I mean, we all, I'm sure we all have gone through some depression and anxiety, but there are times now, just choose to be happy.
Yeah, and also this will be posted on YouTube, so it's not just going to be viewed by all these people, but anyone else who might stumble upon it and will find it helpful. Where can more people find you online and also purchase your book, as well as book a phone call with you?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you can. My name is Cathy Trinh. You can get a copy of my book, a signed copy of the book. I'll also throw in a gift as well, but at cathytrinh.com. So you can order the book there. We have a second book. It was called Asian Woman Who Boss Up. That one hit international bestseller. It's on there as well. And, feel free. There's my contact information. My email address is on my website as well. And then I'm also on Instagram. So it's at Cathy Trinh _ and I'll probably be the first person that you pull up. So thank you.
Perfect. Yes. And they'll also, everyone's social media and website will be in the show notes for when it's posted on YouTube as well. So thank you so much for sharing such a wonderful story about your whole journey too, and just growing up and your journey to America as an Asian and going through the traumas and being able to inspire others. Because I think everyone at the end of the day, we all have our own traumas in some way, shape, or form. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here.
Okay, our next guest is a Filipino-American multidisciplinary dance artist, educator, community facilitator, and healer. Upon receiving her degree in dance and sociology, she traveled to Israel to study under the Kibbutz Contemporary Dance Company program. In 2016, she moved to New York and has worked as a freelance movement artist with choreographers and producers. The heart of her work is rooted in sensual embodiment, social justice, and healing. Please welcome Melani de Guzman. Oh, I love your background.
Thank you. I just realized it matches my dress. Wow, thank you. I think Alice Cat left. Thank you to the energy, and thank you, Thuy. I hope I didn't butcher your name. And Valerie. Ayurveda is so ancient, so interesting, and really just will keep your contact because it's very rare to find AAPI Ayurvedas. Yeah, words are crazy right now. And thank you, Cathy. Just everyone's energy, and I can feel everyone's ancestors and lineages from all before. I feel like we've been like sitting down a little bit. So okay, I want to do this little movement game. You can have your video off if like you're not in the mood, or if you want to like not have your video off and just do it with me, go for it. I'm gonna play the song for 30 seconds. I've been obsessed with like belly dancing music. And so for 30 seconds, you can like just shake in your seat, or you can just like stand up and lovely, congrats. That was like 45 seconds, 15 seconds more than we planned. Okay, I just felt really called to do that just because we've been like sitting down deep in our thoughts. So
thank you for that. I am already sweating.
Yeah, well, I don't know where to start, to be honest.
No, please like share your journey. Okay, so I think this is what I like, where sometimes people will say, oh, dance. It's just dance. But how would you say it can help people on a spiritual level too, or even like body movement, instead of just being like, oh, you're just a dancer,
Yeah, so I'm actually not just a dancer. And I'm 30. I know I look 21, but I actually started dancing, like technically dancing, my first class at 19, 20. That is very, very late in the game. But you know, my parents put me in sports and I was mediocre at it. And dance found me. And it's belly dancing was actually, I'm not even a belly dancer, but I remember like it was one of the first kind of dance genres I was pulled into. And in community college, also, I'm so sorry, I am in the unceded territory of Lenape, Canarsie, so otherwise known as Brooklyn. Very late here, hanging on. But I'm originally born and partly raised at the Tongva Lands, now known as Los Angeles. I also lived in the Philippines from 4 to 8 years old. So a little bit of where I've been. And yeah, I actually started dancing late. Dance found me. And when I say that is I chose to open myself up to this art form. I remember taking an intermediate choreography class in community college and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Everyone here is wonderful. And I was pulled to it by the spirit in motion. Because before dance, I actually was super into yoga, and maybe anyone here can relate, but I was pulled into the kind of like Piscean, dreamy, culty yoga. You know, I was in LA and like, I mean, for a couple of years, I was just sucked into this like vinyasa world and like, you know, I had like supremacist thinkings of yoga and being like, oh, you're not cool unless you do yoga. I wonder how it'd be to like marry a yogi. And I just really put yogis up in this pedestal. And it has taken probably until 2019, until the pandemic, to like be like, you know, that is such a toxic thinking of just putting these modalities into a pedestal. As we can tell, the wellness world, if you're not careful, can be a conspiracy theory, right? And this is something I had to really like check myself on, because from a very young age, 16, 17, I was really like pulled into life coaches and just spirituality, and besides Buddhism and Taoist. And I realized a lot of these teachings and books and things I would read are mainly from white female entrepreneurs, you know, and then like as I started growing older, it was diverse, but it was never really like our people. And it took time for me to realize that. There got to the point in my journey where I kind of strayed away from my own people. And I think it's the assimilation. It's the assimilation of the Western culture. And I also come from privilege as well. And just my journey of going really far away from myself, from my people. And then these past couple of years, it's like coming back to my roots. I went so far away, and now there's this like this home that I'm also missing. So I like the visibility on our community has been just another self-learning, self-healing. And with the atrocities that has happened to us, I remember March, Aries season, with the Georgia 8 people shooting and all these things, and constantly being in these AAPI Zoom healing circles. It is like being with our kind and just like listening to everyone's stories can undo so much out of you. I'm going off topic. My moon's in Gemini, so I can be like really chatty. I'm trying to like but if I lose track, I lose track. Okay. So dance. Yeah, dance came to me very, very late. I kicked my own butt and just put myself in classes. I was a mess. I didn't have core work, you know, abs or just like center of gravity. And I realized that this art form was more than just the aesthetics. And what pulled me into this very fucking hard thing is the ability to, I also majored in sociology. I was so fascinated by cultures, how cultures are shifting. But my first passion was actually anthropology. And I feel proud of myself for being like, I declined UCLA and went to Loyola Marymount instead. Big deal. But so I've always been really into philanthropy, people, how cultures have shifted, how we moved away from this like kin-like village way of living and just individualism. And in a way now it's like going back, right? Like we are just hungry for community, hungry for just being in connection with other people, sharing, you know, cooperativeness and all that. And dance has been a way for me to study different cultures, has been a way for me to connect with different people. When you major in dance, somehow you become a teacher. Like that's just like the easiest thing before you do the professional life. And then the thing that opened up in me was teaching students. And actually, I remember volunteering in a lot of organizations in LA, teaching in the autism spectrum. So I had a little bit of experience with that. And I began my teaching artist journey as I kept training and traveling, training, all that stuff. When moving to New York, I didn't realize that my income can grow 10 times fold if I became a teaching artist, because it was like really valued here. Like it was a necessity. I mean, the teaching artist world is so different. It's also made up of like professional artists of all kinds, and it's really valued. And so that's how I hustled here, besides freelancing and building my own portfolio in modeling, choreography, working with different kinds of musicians and artists alike. I'm going towards the path of like, I really, really enjoy mixing different kinds of art. To me, there's so much learning when you mix, and there's not one that's better, or I believe in ebb and flow, and I believe that there is a way to coexist, because in any partnership or trio or whatever, right, depending on the season, one is always stronger to lead, and then if they're weaker, you know, it's always like this equilibrium type. And as I get into my 30s, and you know what I'm calling in tomorrow's eclipse and in general is really defining how I want to move forward. I have so many different kinds of interests, as Cathy would say, and you know, organically, especially this past pandemic year, I didn't realize I could build my business online. But I realized like, I don't want to keep teaching Pilates anymore. I just want to keep my 1 or 2 specific privates in person, you know, because that feels right. I don't really want to advertise myself as teaching meditation or sound and things like that. I just kind of let it come to me. So I teach for different organizations. One of the coolest thing I've done the past couple of months was teaching for a really cool photography museum. If you're in New York, it's called the Fotografiska. It's new, it's in Gramercy. So I was teaching in person safely, sound meditations there. And that was like a space to just like allow people to drop in their senses. And I was able to be really creative with my teachings and pull from the Filipino diaspora and from all my teachers and from everyone else. I try to be like, I am not a teacher, right? Like I just have this knowledge and it's constantly growing, and we're in this room together. So I always try to come from a place of, I don't know more, right? And just in this moment, I'm able to offer. I mean, I've come to my classes like with a panic attack, and I'm thankful that I can really set that up in my truth and my vulnerability, because hence this year was hard. So yeah, what I'm trying to align and bring in is just, I need to kick my own butt and really kind of, you know, make some priorities not as big and focus on my performing, because I have such a knack for really focusing on theater, modeling, film, commercial, all that stuff. It's so wide, so it gets really like, ugh! But I think that's okay. I think that's okay, and it's all about boundaries and just really knowing what you can offer. And another thing I'm trying to work with myself is that I am not my status, you know, I'm not my jobs, I'm not, you know, my race, but really feeling into my inherent value. And I think one of them is really how I make people feel, even if like I'm not in relation with you, or even when I go into a room and all that. So just really noticing that, and really thankful for So You Boutique's words about like, what really resonated with me was just, I think as things are opening up, we really need to take that agency of being like, oof, how do I feel today? Do I really need to go to that thing or this or that? So as things are opening up, I think it's interesting that people are actually like, are more aware of their energy and what they're able to offer, you know, how many hours you want to spend with that friend, because 3 to 4 or 2 hours over a cocktail is enough, right? And it's like, see you on Zoom, things like that. So
Right. You know, when you were speaking earlier about your like movement classes or Pilates and stuff, like I wasn't sure, like now is there an update, for example, instead of you'll be removing your online Pilates or movement classes and now just switching over to like performance. If people visit your website, what services can they expect from you?
I'm not removing anything. Yeah, it is. First of all, my website needs redoing. Yeah, I think with me, it's just word of mouth. And if you contact me, you know, I believe in like energy and kind of just like how things flow. So if they visit my website, they could see that I teach virtual Pilates, or if they want me to like teach in a workshop or a parent-child or anything like that, I have like a wide variety. I don't really like advertise that just because I'm just so much more focusing on performance collaborations and performative workshops, hosting performances, things like that. That's what I've been putting myself out on more. But if someone contacts me and is like, hey, I would love to schedule a 1-hour sound meditation, like, of course. It has just felt true to me that to keep that more on the down low, because what feels true more to me is in terms of like the advertising is like the performance, because you can be kind of, you know, playful, and I think that's how my art comes across. And I'm also really big on community activism. If you look at my Instagram, I'm just so loud of like, you know, what's going on and how can we just take ownership of being aware of all that with your work. So yeah.
No, perfect. Thank you for sharing. And if people want to know, like, follow you, where you perform and learn more about your work, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I also have a TikTok. I'm not so good at it. I'm pretty active on my Instagram, what I share. And I think after a vacation that I'll finally take in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna go back into newsletters, which it was another tool for me to like be with community. So I think, yeah, just following me on Instagram. And if you're actually in New York and you are in town this weekend, I am performing at a AAPI wonderful event. Proceeds always go to an organization in Chinatown. Leave the link here, and it's this Sunday at Hunters Point Park in LIC. It's going to be outdoors, really great lineup of queer inclusive AAPI community, and it's going to be such a blast. I'm going to be collaborating with a new musician who's Vietnamese, also from LA, and I would say that's the best way to experience me. I know some people are not in New York, but yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Melanie. I know it's getting late there on the East Coast, so thank you for joining so late and whatnot. Okay, it looks like our last guest speaker, unfortunately, was unable to make it. So this concludes tonight's event. I want to thank you all for joining us. And whatever field you're in, watching this even later on YouTube, it's important to educate, support, and amplify people's voices and make change happen. So if you know of any other facilitators, healers, practitioners of color, or from the LGBTQ+ community, please let us know in the comments down below. And I'd like to thank all our amazing guest speakers. Alice, I know she's probably in bed now. Valerie, Thuy, Cathy, Melani, for taking the time to share your stories, your journey, and your gifts and talents with us today. So if you're watching this later on, please give them a like, follow, and support them in their business. Links will be included down below. And again, if you'd like to attend future events like this or learn how to start your own spiritual wellness business in less than 30 days, visit thehappyhealingshop.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to click on that like button down below and share this video. And thanks for watching, everyone.